Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Here we are again with our another speaker, Miss Priyanka Kapoor. Okay, talking about her, let me introduce to you in a very short way. Miss Priyanka Kapoor is a counselor, psychologist, and a psychotherapist, relationship and a family counselor, life coach, law of attraction coach, batch flower therapist, NLP practitioner, parenting consultant, and also a career counselor. She holds workshops on master your emotions, anger management, parenting, teen parenting, identify your personality, life coaching, relationship building, etc. She is working as a freelance and has a private practice at Tardio, Mumbai since last 5 years. She is also working as a psychotherapist with Belief Consultancy, Bandra, and also with the NGO called Jeevan Jaj at Goregaon. A philanthropist at heart, Miss Priyanka Kapoor actively involved in health, education, and communication to crest and enlighten India. She is very knowledgeable, diligent, and at the same time witty, and has an extra edge in forming amicable relationships. So, this is Miss Priyanka Kapoor having us today, and her topic of discussion today would be Discover Your Secrets Behind Emotional Problems. So, handling it all to Miss Priyanka Kapoor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rakesh, for this wonderful introduction. And I would also like to thank Career Naksha team to invite me in this beautiful platform to present my very important topic, which is discover your hidden secrets behind emotional problems. So, before I begin, I would like to tell you that why have I chosen this topic. So every second person who's coming to me for consultation and counseling, everybody is only concerned about anxiety, depression. Everybody is facing some or the other anxiety, depression issues, or anger issues, or relationship issues. But the core problem of these issues nobody recognizes. Everyone is only thinking that these are the symptoms, on people do label them, they judge them. But the problem here is it's very deep. So people need to understand there are a lot of reasons behind this kind of behavior, and we need to understand the crux of it, the root cause of it. And most of the people don't really realize why these things are happening. So in parenting as well as in relationship, there are a lot of issues, and there is absolutely no empathy and understanding of the reasons. And because of that, the problems are escalating, and the client themselves, the patient himself, doesn't understand what's happening with them, and they judge themselves also. But with this seminar or webinar, you'll actually come to know there are a lot of hidden reasons, because of which you are actually facing these kind of problems. Let me present to you the slides first. I hope you all can see the screen. Yeah. So this entire webinar is divided into two parts. That is, the first half is going to be discussed on childhood experiences, and the other half is going to be discussed on current affairs. Okay. In childhood experiences, we are going to speak about genetic and environmental factors, parenting styles, types of abuse in children, bullying, invalidation, personalities, and attachment theory. And current affairs, unfinished business, family and relationships, mind and body connection. Please don't miss this part, because it is one of the most important part which I'll be discussing, and I would humbly request not to miss this part, because the minute you understand how this works, you'll immediately start working on yourself, right? So how basically emotions lead to physical diseases and physical ailments and problems, you will understand with this topic. Okay. And career is another issue, physical health and abuse in relationships. So let's begin with childhood experiences. Childhood experiences we face, there are like genetic and environmental factors. Let's begin with genetic factors first. Okay, so have you ever wondered why your hair is blonde or brown, or how your eyes are brown or blue? How are you short or tall? These factors are most likely caused by your genetics, right? Genetics is a study of heredity and variation in inherited characteristics. We all know that, right? So a few mental disorders can be passed through genetics as well, like ADHD, bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, or depression. All major mental disorders can be heritable. Anxiety and depression and OCD are 25% to 40% inheritable. Alcohol dependence and anorexia nervosa are 50 to 60% inheritable. In addition, bipolar disorder, depression, and schizophrenia can be 75% inheritable. So, many people actually start judging the anxiety and depression issues as well as anger and personality issues. Even the personality disorders can be a part of genetic factors. So, when we see extremely hyper people or any kind of uh, people who are very prone to depression or stuff like that, we need to understand there can be inherited as well, right? So rather than judging and finding out, let's actually work on the solutions, right? Next, environmental factors is the most important thing. That is, if the genetic problems are there, but environmental factors has to be positive. If it is negative, it can escalate. If environmental factors are supportive, the genetic issues are not so severe. But if environmental factors are really toxic or anything like that, then the problems which they are facing is going to be more problematic, more intense, and more severe, right? So mental health disorders can be caused by environmental factors in addition to inheritability. Environmental factors can consist of stress, trauma, and substance abuse. Environmental factors can trigger a genetic reaction which can lead to a mental disorder, right? So as we understood that environmental factors are so important, where if the person already has any kind of issue, it can actually it can multiply, right? Another environmental factors is dysfunctional families. Now it's a super important topic where people please try to understand that dysfunctional families are in families in which there are a lot of fights, arguments, uh, emotional abuse or any kind of abusing happening in the family, broken families, divorce happening, or and many such families. So there are different types of, if suppose there are parents and parents are fighting. So in that also there are three categories. First of all, if the parents are good enough, like they are getting along well. The second category is where the one parent is like they are divorcees, the parent is separated. And the third category is where they both are living together with a very difficult environment. Like they cannot tolerate each other and there are continuous everyday fights and fights happening. So, which is the most toxic in this is the family where the fights are maximum in the, like they are staying together and there are continuous fights happening between the husband and wife, and between the parents or between the other family members. So these are dysfunctional families where the coping mechanisms are absolutely wrong, and there are a lot of emotion and physical damage happening, property damage happening, and stuff like that. So it's better rather to have a divorce, if rather than staying in such family, because the children do get affected very badly with this kind of environment. People who are extremely vulnerable, they land up having many kind of disorders because of these issues, and they get into a big trauma. So these things are extremely traumatic for children's upbringing and all. So these are dysfunctional families where family problems are too many, and I would suggest, if you have any kind of dysfunction, do family counseling, relationship counseling. There is no harm in that. It is very much advisable. I have helped so many families like that, and so many married couples like that, so that the upbringing of the child is not getting affected. The third one is school. School environment is something so important for children, where in school generally the child is spending most of the day in school. The environment which he's in, if little bit bullying happens or any kind of the teachers are behaving badly little bit also, if one person starts insulting, then the entire childhood of that child gets ruined. Like for example, I'll give you an example. Like there is a child, I had a client who, of course, he's an adult, but he had so many issues in his childhood, where he was actually a scholar, he was a very good student, but he landed up because he was so studious and such a good student and topper, everybody started calling him a nerd, and everybody started calling teasing him some names, and nobody used to associate with him. So because of that, he used to feel very left out, and because of that getting acceptance and appreciation, he actually started using his potential little less, and he started scoring little less on purpose so that he gets appreciation and acceptance, and he did get it. He did get that, and because of that, that became his coping mechanisms for the rest of his life. In his career, in his relationships, in his parenting, in everything, he stopped using his full potential. And because of that, he actually started having low self esteem, and then it started turning into phobias and some fears and low self concept and stuff like that. So understand the root cause can be school as well, a small bad experience as well. We need a nurturing environment so that children do get some kind of support to solve these kind of issues as well, right? So please try to understand whatever they are learning in school. We need to keep a check on the students, on our children, so that they get a solution for their problems and not get carried away or get into any kind of misinterpretation, or they may get into low self esteem or depression or trauma, and we will not even come to know, so we need to take care what kind of school environment the child is going to. Is there any physical abuse happening in school? Is there any sexual abuse happening in school? Is there the teachers are the teachers behaving nicely? Like, I know so many students, like there was one student where there was absolute partiality happening in school, and the child was so disheartened. The child was one of the best students in art, but her artwork was not appreciated by the teacher because she had some personal grudges. So this is not fair, right? So you need to take care of that, because the environmental factors have a big impact in their upbringing, as well as their entire career, as well as their future. Physical disabilities. Now physical disabilities is something like, if the child has any kind of physical disabilities, or even for that matter, learning disabilities, they have a lot of problems related to low self esteem. Why this happens is because, of course, they feel that they are not good enough, right? So they have to actually fight back and fight against the world and prove themselves all the time that they are good enough. But at one point of time, the acceptance and the lack of acceptance, the lack of appreciation which they get in school or in their environment, is very toxic and very traumatic for them. So we need to also make sure that people who have these kind of disabilities, we need to help them out, rather than help them out to cope up with these kind of situations, right? Next comes parenting styles. Okay, now when the child is small and the parents have their own personalities, their own set of issues, so the parents are actually having a certain style of parenting, which lands up damaging the children, damaging the child. Because if the parent has come from a background where he has been traumatic, or she has been traumatic, or he's got a bad childhood, or he's learned, or there are some relationship issues between the parents, then their parenting is getting affected here. And because of the wrong parenting, the shaping of the personality of the child gets affected. Okay, so there are four types of parenting styles. One is authoritarian parenting, second is authoritative parenting, uninvolved parenting, and permissive parenting. Now, authoritarian parenting are basically the parenting style where the parent is extremely strict, extremely stern, extremely dominating. They don't give space to the child to take decisions. They command, they order, they want everything in the certain way only. And if that's not done, then they don't like it. They'll end up punishing the child, over punishing, or or talking badly with the child with the wrong tone, screaming, yelling, put downs. These kind of things often happen with authoritarian parenting. So they have very high demands, but their responsiveness is very low. The warmth is very low in this parenting. The affection is very low. there is no balance. There is only discipline happening, but there is no warmth and love happening in this parenting. So they are more focused on the results, they're more focused on the how that the certain timetables and the studies and everything has to be in a certain way. They are very they want the child to listen to them according to what they want. Now the children from authoritarian parentings what tend to be very withdrawn, apathetic, shy, especially girls, that they become shy. The boys can become hostile and unmotivated, incompetent. They'll end up having low self-esteem as well. It's authoritarian parenting because in this parenting, the child is not given the chance to take decisions. Every time the parent is taking a decision for him, they are not given choices. They are only given an order that they have to follow. That's it. So it's very important that this parenting has to be worked upon. If you are really following this kind of parenting, we need to have a balance. Okay, the demand is really high in this, and responsiveness less is no. But here, now the second one is authoritative parenting. That means high demands and high responsiveness. Mean the children with from authoritative parenting tend to be self-assertive, independent, friendly, cooperative, motivated, and competent. Mean this is the best type of parenting where there is a balance between the demands as well as the responsiveness. Means there's warmth, affection, and friendliness. There is always there's guidance. The choices are given to the child. The child lands up being very confident, competent, motivated, assertive, independent, as well as friendly. So in this there is always a balance which we need to maintain. Yeah. So authoritative parenting is the best parenting which we all should follow. So the third one is uninvolved parenting. Now, in this, often people who are working, the parents who are working, they land up having these kind of parenting styles where the parents are actually not involved quite a bit. The child is quite neglected. So in this kind of parenting, the child is often lost. They have no direction in life. So because there is no guidance, they follow their own route according to whatever they think is right. They do it, and they land up into a big problem every time. So here there are no demands at all from the parent side. They don't demand anything, nor they have any kind of warmth, and they are not. There's no affection. There's nothing in them. Like especially people who are like orphans, and even people who are working, and even if suppose if the parent themselves are into a big mess, like if they have their issues, their health issues or their own relationship issues, then there is no attention given to the child. Here the parents are not involved in any of them, and the child is on their own. So because of that, the child is absolutely unmotivated, and self efficacy is not there. Then indifferent, destructive, detached, socially incompetent. These kind of people can also land up getting into antisocial or antisocial activities, delinquencies, or conduct disorders, because these kind of people, they don't know what is right and wrong, and they just do what they think is right and wrong. Okay. And permissive parenting. Now permissive parenting is demands are extremely low. Yeah, they don't really care about, they don't demand, they are not demanding, the parents are not demanding, but responsiveness is high. Means that the parents are loving too much, they are extremely affection, but that's all about it. They just give, they over pamper the child. They give a lot of love, affection, attention to the child, acceptance and appreciation to the child, but there are no demands. They don't guide them, they just fulfill each and everything to the child. They every time they are available to the child. So what is happening is, because the child is getting everything without any challenge, the child doesn't really value whatever is given to them. They'll end up taking everything for granted. Because of that, the child actually becomes impulsive if they don't get it. They become dependent on the parent and everything, and they become undisciplined. They become immature. And then they also become manipulative, and they get self-centered. These kind of people, both in a like bigde हुए बच्चे kind of a thing, they become very disrespectful as well towards the elders. We need to know actually that all these parenting styles are not that good, because it actually lands up the child into a problem. And authoritative parenting is the best parenting. So if these kind of parenting happen, the other three parenting styles happen, then the entire shaping of the personality of the child is up to the mark. Okay. And they have a lot of emotional issues as well as relationship issues in their future. So next Next, we'll talk about personalities. So, personality is a very, very important part. Now these parenting styles, which I was talking about, these parenting styles, the result of these parenting styles also depend upon the personality of the child. Like if the personality of the child is vulnerable, then the authoritarian parenting will actually land up the child getting into a depression. But if the child is a invulnerable personality, the child will actually become very hostile and very aggressive and full of resentment, and absolutely he may get into an antisocial or conduct disorder. Now what do you mean by antisocial and conduct? They become actually get into wrong things, lying, stealing, hitting, violence, and misbehaving, disrespecting, and all those stuff, right? So depends upon the personality of the child, the shaping happens of the personality. Okay. So we need to actually figure out what is our child's personality. Is he a vulnerable child or is he an invulnerable child? So if the child is vulnerable and he is actually facing a lot of bad experiences in his life, they perceive differently according they perceive the entire world differently. The vulnerable child will get into anxiety issues, phobias, panic attacks, depression, low self esteem, career issues in future, relationship issues in future, and they will have poor decision making. Why? Because he is a vulnerable child. He's a very soft spoken, sensitive, oversensitive children, very where they are extremely caring about others feelings. So what happens, these kind of children, they'll end up getting into these issues. Okay. If the depends upon the parenting style. So parenting style as well as vulnerability is goes depends upon each other. Okay. The result of that parenting will depend upon the vulnerability of the child. Now, if the child is invulnerable, for example, and he is a very strong-headed person, okay, very strong-headed and bindas kind of a person, he is absolutely, and he doesn't really care about anyone. So these kind of children, if they have bad parenting and bad childhood, they land up getting into anti-social activities. They get into delinquencies mean when the children are getting into wrong habits, any kind of substance abuse, or they get into wrong company, lying, stealing, and these are into small. And antisocial means actually like robbers and murderers and or any wrong, getting into drugs and all these kind of people, and these kind of activities are called antisocial activities. So people who have not a great childhood and they are invulnerable, they can also land up having the symptoms of ADHD in adults. They can get into hypertension, overthinking, anxiety disorders as well, conduct disorders in kids, behavioral issues, relationship issues. So, how important the parenting style is. You try to understand that if you have any kind of issues, family issues, relationship issues, emotional issues, health issues, please try to sort it out and make sure that the child is not getting affected. The child is getting what he wants, that is love, attention, and acceptance, appreciation, and also the basically the entire authoritative parenting he should be getting in, no matter whatever you are going through as a parent. Okay. So now comes abuse in children, which is a super important topic again. Uh, well, in today's date, so many times we don't even know that we are abusing our children or our partners. So many times we think it's normal to behave like this. It's so normal, everybody does that. But it is so important to understand what is an abuse, what is a physical abuse, what is an emotional abuse, what is sexual abuse. So many times people don't even understand, okay, we really this is a sexual abuse or what. Okay, this is a neglect. Oh, it is an invalidation. They don't even know it. So please understand what is an abuse, and 90% of the parents are doing emotional abuse and physical abuse to the children, and they are not even aware about it, and how damaging that can be in the child's life. Okay, physical abuse, of course, everyone knows, hitting, smacking, and little bit also. A person, if a person hits on little bit, they slap, they think it's okay. Why? Because they have been smacked in their childhood. So is that, and generally what happens is, when a person is gone through something in their childhood, they'll end up doing double in their adulthood to their own children. you know so we have to understand what is right and wrong. What has happened to us was wrong, and now we're not supposed to repeat that to our child, right? So hitting our children, locking them somewhere, punishing them, making them stand somewhere in purposely, and all these things are actually comes into physical abuse, where the child, now imagine somebody hitting you. Are you going to really take it? Why? Just because the child doesn't have a choice, he has to suffer. The child has to literally tolerate that, because he doesn't have a child and he doesn't have his own decision making. So he thinks, okay, I am only wrong. So he's taking all the this thing, and then he lands up crying, getting into sadness zone, and then getting into an resentment, and then getting into frustration, which lands up into behavioral issues. And then we actually land up telling our teachers that my son is very naughty. The thing is, we have to understand that what kind of behavior we are supposed to do towards our children. Physical abuse, little bit also hitting is not allowed. Little bit also hitting is not allowed to our children at any cost. Okay, because it can be a long term damaging situation to our children. It can get into any kind of resentment, and the future consequences can be really really damaging. Okay, so emotional abuse is a super important topic again. All are important only, but this is really, really important, because so many people are not aware that this is an emotional abuse. Over punishing our children every time. Okay, okay, you did this, fine. You're not going to get pizzas. Okay, you're not going to get a pencil. I'm not going to buy you this. This is okay. Now your TV time is gone. What is this? This is punishing. But there are parents who keep on punishing for everything, and over punishing can be so harmful and so resentment. Imagine people are punishing you for everything. Every time there's a fine happening to you or to our adults, are you going to really follow that? We will end up leaving that, probably that situation. Even for that matter, at our own spouses, if they try to do something like that, we may need divorce. Like, what is this? He's punishing me for everything. So but why children then? Why children are the this thing? Because we think this is the right way of handling children, but let me tell you, it is not. It is not the right way of handling children. Then sarcastic comments is the worst way of communication styles. How insulting it is. Sarcastic comments, you have no clue. It is really really hurting to a child, not only a child, even to an adult. Okay, so commanding, where we only order. Threatening, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. Threatening. Then belittling, like put downs. Labeling the child. Oh, you are this. Oh, you are that. You see, so how dumb you are, how idiot you are, how this is calling, labeling, name calling, abusing, literally calling them really harsh words, comparing them with others, blaming them for they have not done. Even if they have done, why to blame? Look for solutions. Neglecting them. Neglecting is another topic which I will be discussing. Shaming, body shaming, or shaming them, putting them, making them feel shameful for whatever they have done. Criticizing, guilting, humiliating, ridiculing, dismissing, monitoring all the time, like 24/7, sitting on their head, and just okay, what our child is doing, what our child is doing. It is really annoying, actually. If suppose 24/7 the person is actually keeping an eye on you, how would you that is all we should have. We have to give that much of space to our children as well. Verbally berating or body shaming. Okay, so these are emotional abuse. For them, there are similar abuses for adults as well. So any kind of these kind of things are happening in your house by anyone to anyone, please, please stop it. It is really, really damaging. Now, sexual abuse. Now, this is when an older person uses the body of a child for his sexual satisfaction. Cases of child sexual abuse are being reported every day all over the world, with the instances increasing at an alarming rate. Things amounting to sexual abuse of a child include provoking or forcing a child into a sexual act, in the indecent revealing of their genitals, of one's sexual stimulation, and either showing him pornography or using him for the same. Psychologically, the child may face conditions such as mental trauma, depression, loss of self confidence, or low self esteem, anxiety, or symptoms of self destruction that may eventually lead to suicide. Okay, now there are been I have got so many cases where when the my client has been in the child in their childhood, they have faced this. Now again, it is very subjective where how this child has perceived the entire situation. I have got so many clients where the child was exposed to genitals, as well as the child was sexually abused, but they have been without any therapy, they have not got into trauma because they were invulnerable personality. Especially people who are the children who are vulnerable, they are extremely prone to trauma and depression, low self confidence and stuff like that. Okay, so depends upon the child to child how he takes it up. Okay, but it's a very important topic where you, if at all you think in your house or anywhere you've been seeing this happening, you need to stop immediately. Okay, child neglect and invalidation. Now, as I told you, uninvolved parenting is the one kind of child neglect. Child neglect is another kind of abuse. Child neglect refers to depriving a child of his basic necessities of food, clothing, shelter, and hygiene, and proper care as well. It amounts to child abuse when it reaches a level when the chances of harm to the child may surface. There are varied reasons for child neglect. It may take place if a parent or a guardian is either physically or psychological unfit to take care of the child and provide him with basic necessities. And it can also happen in cases where the parents or guardians are addicted to alcohol or drugs, due to which they are unable to take care of their children. So here also, yeah, I wanted to mention in emotional abuse, there is something called invalidation, where by doing all these things, we are not validating the child's feelings, we are not considering the child's feelings, but we are just doing these kind of acts like sarcasm, commanding, threatening. We are not trying to understand their label, and we are not trying to give them that much of attention. So if there is invalidation happening in the family, we need, if the consequences can be mental health disorders. you know in the child, they may land up having anxiety or borderline personality disorders or bipolar disorder and stuff like that, eventually over a period of time. Okay, yeah. So, substance abuse. So you must be thinking substance abuse, oh really, for kids? Yes, there are many kids who, especially teenagers, who land up into substance abuse. Why? Because of an invalidating environment. Okay, substance abuse refers to exposing a child to an any substance in or its manufacture that is not suitable for him or may have an adverse effect on his health immediately as well as in the long run. So, this generally pertains to harmful substances such as tobacco, alcohol, drugs. Exposure to these substances may lead to addiction in children, which may turn in which in turn may harm their health in many ways. So, children facing substance abuse at a young age may go on to become hardcore alcoholics or drug addicts, and even indulge in antisocial activities in the future, which in any case is not good for the society. So substance abuse has been classified one of the forms of child abuse in US and has serious legal consequences. So there are many families do use drugs and alcohol, of course, in today's date in India as well. But when the child is seeing or exposed to such things, they are very prone to getting into that very fast. We need to be very careful with all these things as well. Child exploitation, of course, we all know what is child exploitation and how damaging and harmful it is. And child exploitation involves evils such as recruiting children to perform laborious tasks and indulging them into prostitution, acts of child trafficking, and so on. People subjected to exploitation as children may turn out to be antisocial elements and child exploiters themselves. Nowadays, the internet, now here, why child exploitation I have included here is, it's not that we are going to, of course, allow our child to get exploited, but internet is the problem here, where nowadays internet has gained a ground everywhere and is easily available to everyone, be it a child or an adult. In such scenario, it is very difficult to keep a check on instances of child abuse that tend to take place every now and then and through the world wide web, which could include child pornography, internet bullying, conversation that is laced with sexual content in chat rooms, and so on. There are a number of cyber laws that have been framed in order to control such kinds of cyber crimes. But the internet is a huge world. It is thus advisable to monitor such happenings at home, schools, and internet cafes so that they can be reduced. Now, I had the real case where one child was actually exposed to that, and they had come and complained to me that my child is doing this, but he himself didn't know that he was actually going through that. Means he was just playing a game, and it was an online game, and there were many other people as well. So there was a 25-year-old lady who was approaching that child, and she was saying, ki, are you interested in sex and all that. So the child was zapped. He was like, what the hell is happening? So we don't realize these things are happening in online games as well. And we need to be really careful in this situation. We need to be really friendly with the child and open, and need to have open discussions with our child, like, so that the child can come and take shelter of us rather than taking shelter outside. He can come to us and vent it out, whatever he issues he's facing, right? Okay, so now the new, that is all about child abuse in children, where we need to be really careful about the abuse and what is happening. Now, this is another topic, which is actually, this topic is a very important topic, but it's a very huge topic. Okay, now this topic, I would really suggest if you can actually uh, do a little more research on the internet, because the entire topic I cannot cover here. Maybe in the next session or next seminar, I will take this up entirely, because an attachment theory is a very, is a theory, is a basically a theory of an emotional bond with another person. Okay, now Bowlby, that is a psychologist, believed that the earliest bonds formed by children with their caregivers have a tremendous impact that continues throughout life. Attachment also serves to keep the infant closer to the mother, thus improving the child's chances of survival. Early attachments were the result of receiving comfort and care from the caregiver rather than simply the result of being fed. Three major styles of attachment is secure attachment, ambivalent insecure attachment, avoidant insecure attachment, and disorganized insecure attachment. So, number of studies since the time they have supported this Ainsworth attachment styles have indicated that attachment styles also have an impact on the behaviors later in life. So, opportunity for attachment: the children who do not have primary care figure, such though as those raised in orphanages, may fail to develop the sense of trust needed to form an attachment. Quality caregiving: when the caregivers respond quickly and consistently, children learn that they can depend on people who are responsible for their care, which is the essential foundation for attachment. This is a vital factor. So, children diagnosed with ODD, that is oppositional defiant disorder, this disorder is related to their behavioral issues, where they don't really follow the instructions of the teachers, for parents, and they are doing absolutely the opposite whatever is told to them. They don't listen to anyone, and absolutely, they don't. They're undisciplined. Conduct disorder. They have a lot of behavioral issues where they are very violent in nature. PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, frequently display attachment problems, possibly due to the early abuse, neglect, or trauma. Children adopted after the age of 6 months may have a higher risk of attachment problems, right? So, attachment theory is again a very important topic, where childhood is concerned and childhood problems are concerned, childhood experiences are concerned, which affects the upbringing of the child and shaping of the personality of the child and eventually the problems in life, right? So this is all about the children aspect, the childhood experiences. Okay, so now we will go to adulthood experiences. Okay, now adulthood experiences basically unfinished business we will be speaking about. Okay, abuse in relationships I'll start with. Okay, now abuse in relationships, as I told you, it is same as children's emotional abuse, whichever I told you right now, sarcasm and commanding and threatening and stuff like that. Okay, but there are many other abuses in relationships as well. That is sexual abuse. We all know what is sexual abuse, where the partner is forced to indulge in sexual activity with them, or any kind of uh, you know force happening in sex. Okay, and physical abuse, of course, hitting and slapping and throwing and throwing of the property and stuff like that. This is physical abuse, which is abuse in relationship, which can actually damage the entire well-being of the entire relationship. So emotional abuse is as damaging as the physical abuse. It can create a big scar in the child's life, and can create a lot of emotional issues and relationship issues in their life. Okay, and physical abuse. No, intellectual abuse. So intellectual abuse is basically they stop the person to hold the beliefs what they believe. Like if they believe in a certain god, or they believe in their certain religion, or if they believe uh, they believe in a certain way of living life, they are made to believe that they are wrong. Okay, so this is intellectual belief where they stop them from holding beliefs, or they also stop them from not, don't go here, don't go there, yahan nahi jana, wahan nahi jana. Every time they are like stopping. You do this, you do that, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. This is intellectual abuse. There are many people who do that because they think this is the right way of living a life. Okay, so there was a couple where the husband used to stop the child, no, stop the wife from going to the club, going to the shopping alone, and he has always a doubt. Oh, she must have gone somewhere with a boyfriend and stuff like that. So no going here, no going there, no going for. So she started following some spirituality. Then you like, no, you cannot follow that. Also, this is all rubbish. This is all intellectual abuse. So belittling your opinions, basically. Whatever your opinions are there, he will belittle you. Okay, so material and financial abuse. What do you mean by that? Like financial abuse is basically the abuser actually has entire full control over your finance, and he will actually remove you from the partnership, from the company, probably from the property, from the banks and everywhere, and he'll make you feel like a beggar, literally, and isolate and behave badly if the and make you feel that, make you depend on him all the time and threaten you for everything, and and because of that finance, you will have to land up being forcefully with that person and follow his instructions or her instructions, right? And material abuse basically is an abuse where the property has been damaged and the property is also taken away from the person. Like for example, if the uh, wife, for example, has driven a car and she met with an accident, the car is taken away from her. If she has lost an expensive watch, he will make sure that she doesn't get another watch. So these are all material abuse, whether the husband or the wife is actually threatening or behaving extremely badly when the property has been damaged, or and there are a lot of threatening happens related to the property as well. So mental abuse is all about not exactly the same like emotional abuse. Mental abuse is basically gaslighting, where they influence your thoughts and impacts a sense of reality. Means you will be made believe that you are dumb. You will be made believe that you are so wrong. your the way you think is so wrong. It's absolutely manipulating. It is making sure that the things are happen according to him, but with a manipulating manner, right? And making you feel that you're a loser, but not directly, but indirectly. That is mental abuse. So this happens in a lot of narcissistic personalities. So cultural abuse. What is cultural abuse here is someone's culture can be used against them to inflict harm. Typical examples would be to isolate people from their community, denying their traditions or criticize their practice. The aim is to harm the victim, basically. So, like, if there are two cultured people coming together and getting married, then they can actually, use their culture against them to inflict harm or call them names and isolate them from the community and make them feel like kind of a partiality, criticize their practice and stuff like that. So that is cultural abuse, where they could get into the background of the person. They talk about the culture, about their upbringing and stuff like that. Discriminatory abuse. If your partner is treating you badly because of a disability or your gender, you could be experiencing discriminatory abuse. In this case, physical abuse example could be stopping you from accessing, for example, your wheelchair. Means if suppose you are physically disabled and you cannot walk, he will torture you by not giving you the wheelchair or any kind of support or something like that. That is discriminatory. Or making fun of that person because he's not able to do a certain thing. And gender abuse, where if suppose they have LGBTQ face a lot of issues, these kind of discriminatory abuse. And also um, gender, where if just because the wife is a girl, a woman, a female gender, she has some different rules altogether. She needs to follow a certain rule. She has to do this. She's not exposed. She's not allowed to do this. She's not allowed to do that. Discrimination is happening in the house, basically. So this is discriminatory abuse. So please try to understand. See, why am I sharing all these things, is so that you're aware what's happening in the families and aware what's happening within your own life. Are you facing any of these issues? You need to stop. Are you doing this to anyone? Please stop, because these things are so damaging to the relationship as well as the emotional. So I have got clients who are facing all these abuses in their relationships. Also, I've got parents who are doing this to their children, all different kinds of abuses to their children. And this is all about awareness. This entire webinar is all about awareness, where you need to be aware about what is right and what is wrong, which will help you to differentiate between right and wrong, and then you will land up taking the necessary steps. Okay. Next. So, mind and body connection, my favorite topic. Okay, because it is so different, to understand this thing. It is so difficult to understand this concept. We all often actually landing up focusing on the primary emotion. Now, what is primary emotions? Primary emotions are the top layer of this iceberg. Can you see the top layer of the iceberg is like mad, enraged, boiling, exploding, outraged, angry, annoyed, furious. So this is all about anger iceberg. Like that, we can see many other icebergs as well, where we always land up seeing the outer emotions which is visible to us. These are all primary emotions. Now the secondary emotions are down, deep down, which leads to primary emotions. Basically, shame, overwhelm, attack, helpless, disappointed, rejected, scared, etc., etc. There are so many inner deep feelings which lands up into a primary emotion. Okay, so why these things happen? Because we don't recognize our secondary emotions. We are focusing only on the primary emotions. Well, now how do we find out? So many times the secondary emotions are actually in the unconscious mind, not even subconscious, even unconscious mind. It is deep down, deepest down, buried inside us, which is not which we don't even know. And it comes out in the form of primary emotion, and then we wonder, why are we behaving like this? We behave like this because of a certain experience which we had in the past, which has led us to feel in a certain way, and which is layered by so many beliefs and so many schemas. Beliefs and schemas are basically the belief system, which is a different topic altogether, but it is so so deep down that we need to figure out how. So sometimes you cannot even figure out. That's why you need special help. You need to go outside and ask, go to a counselor or a therapist and all, and to find out what is the problem. Why are you getting mad? Why are you getting angry? Why are you getting anxious? Why are you getting depressed? Why you have these kind of mood swings? Why? Because these primary emotions are the ones which you can see, but the secondary emotions you can't see, and sometimes you can't even figure out what is happening, why it's happening. So I'll give you one example of this. I had a client who had come to me for a clinical depression, and when I took the entire case history and everything, I figured out she actually had fatherly issues. She had a neglectful life. No, no, she had a lot of affection from her mother, but her father neglected her. But that was discovered then immediately when I had a meeting with her father. The clinical depression, which was for so many, I think 10 years depression, went within a month. Why? Because her deep down acceptance, acknowledgement, validation from her father was missing, and when she got it, her problem got resolved. So to figure out what is the problem is another challenge. She didn't know what was going on with her. So when we don't know, please take help. Why wait? Why to wait so much? Right? So now, how does these mind and body connection happen? What is the scientific understanding related to these information where we get, and the neurotransmitters and stuff like that? Let's figure out. Now, the neurotransmitters are basically happens in our brain. Not only in our brain, we have it on all over our body, right? So these neurotransmitters are basically these little dots which you can see between the two neurons. Okay, as information travel, whenever we get any kind of information, it travels through our bodies. Electrical signals travel down one neuron. Then, as the information hits the synaptic gap, it converts into a chemical signal, and it is then taken up by the next neuron and is again converted into an electrical signal. Now, these neurotransmitters can pass information to every cell in our body. So, our thinking has an impact on our body as the information is passed from cell to cell. The mind body connection, and this is very important, what we tell ourselves to our thoughts and our beliefs. So, because of the thoughts and beliefs which we hold on, it accordingly it passes the information to the every cell in our body, and then it eventually turns into a hormonal issue. Like when they first discovered neurotransmitter, they thought that they were only in the brain. Then they thought they were only between the neurons, but then they found that they are even in the uptake of the every cell in our body. Scientists found that even after removing the brain of rats, only leaving the brain stem, that the rats could still run a maze. So that proves that mind body connection is there. This is really important. What that says is that the thoughts which we hold in our mind can affect your body. How? Where thoughts you can hold move through the neurotransmitters through our body, which eventually turns into hormones. Now, you have positive thoughts, you'll get positive hormone secretion. If you have negative thoughts, you'll have negative hormone secretion. And if you have negative hormone secretion, you'll end up having physical diseases. Physical diseases like cancer, thyroid, migraine, or this pain, that pain, and any kind of physical disorder you can get. So, why? Because of the negative thoughts. So, imagine the thoughts are so important. If you have negative thoughts, you'll end up having negative ailment. If you have positive thoughts, you'll end up being happy, and you'll become more resilient. Okay. Now, when you understood now mind and body connection, let me tell you some important facts. What happens when you have, like, for example, if you have aches in your body, that means you have some kind of longing for love, which you haven't got. If you have acne, means there is acne on your face. then that means there is a lack of self acceptance. If you are, if there's a bedwetting happening even when there's it's an adult, that means he has some kind of fear of parent. Usually it's a father. If you have gas pains, you have undigested secrets or ideas, you know. So if you have insomnia, you must be having some kind of guilt or resentment. Think about it. If you are not sleeping well, do you have any kind of resentment happening in your life? So if you have low blood pressure, there is lack of love as a child. If you have high blood pressure, there is some kind of unresolved emotional issue. If you have cancer, there is definitely some kind of resentment holding on. I mean, there are kind of people who hold resentment a bit too much, generally a bit too much. You know, they have a habit of being extremely oversensitive, and they get hurt a lot and they hold on to that resentment forever. Because of that, these kind of issues do develop. Learn to let go and forgive. Learn to let go. It's not very easy to let go, but there is a procedure. You can take help from some professional, and please get those resentments sorted. Okay, so deep hurt and resentment can cause cancer. Fatigue, that means people who there's a lot of boredom or lack of love happening, because of which the person is often feeling fatigue. Kidney stones can is because of the undissolved anger, okay, in the person's life. Accidents, people who are very prone to accidents are rebel inability to speak for themselves. Joint issues, fear of criticism. Many people have these joint issues in an early age. Why? Because they have that fear of criticism. They can't take criticism very fast. Addictions, that is running from self. They don't want to face their themselves. They don't love themselves. That's why they get into addictions. Back pains, less support of people. Then bladder issues, holding on to things or anxiety. So these are the mind body connections, where there are many more actually. Maybe in the next session or next seminar, I can cover everything and tell you more details about it. So another important issues, which is unfinished business. Okay, unfinished business are the issues which is from the childhood. When an adult comes to me for a therapy or anything, then I try to figure out their childhood issues. So we have to finish those businesses, like any kind of if the person is grieving, suppose his the client's father died or something like that. So then he couldn't speak something to his father before he died, so that is unfinished business. Or the patient couldn't cry when his parent died, so that is unfinished business. Or suppose he did not get the kind of love, or some resentment is there between the parents or between his friends or anything like that. Unfinished business. So these unfinished business can actually lead to long term issues, like anxiety, depression, or anything like that, which is so subconscious, so unconscious, that we have to use special skills to actually reveal that. Career career issues can actually lead to a big problem in adulthood, especially from 21 to 40 years, because these are the career is one of the most, and the relationships, they are the most important milestones in adult and middle adulthood. Because if these are not set, then in later life they can have midlife crisis. So career is a very important issue which everybody should work on. They can take help of career counselors also. Even if you are a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old, and if you really need some career help, you should go to a career counselor and get yourself sorted. Physical health issues or hormonal issues, of course, leads to a lot of emotional issues which you need to definitely take care of. Family and relationship issues can lead to a lot of traumatic experiences as well, which leads to emotional issues. And people who are unmarried, or even if they are married and they have a lot of issues in their family, they can get into a loneliness zone, which can again get into a loop of emotional problems, emotional issues, and get into some kind of disorder, anxiety, and stuff like that, because of the emptiness and lack of love, affection, which they always see it in a partner. So if that is not happening, then they can get into any kind of emotional issues. So this is all about it. Thank you so much for listening to me. This is my website if at all you want to know my details, and also if you want to contact me, you can WhatsApp on this number. Yeah, and I shall now take some question answers if you all have. Yes. So, if at all you all have any kind of questions, you all can ask me. Otherwise, we are good to go. So, I guess there are no questions here. So, Rakesh, shall we end it?
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Priyanka Kapoor. It was an immense pleasure to have you here on Career Naksha. And signing off here, Rakesh Chogani as a counseling executive at Career Naksha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you soon. Bye.